Today is more story-driven, which somebody will say, well, what's that all about? Oh, welcome to the planet. Jesus spoke in stories, didn't he? I've got a story for you. My dad, when he was younger, he actually was a summer camp, the men's director at out there in Wawona. You know Wawona? Summer camp. It's northern, middle central California near Half Dome National Park. You know, that El Capitan over there and all this beautiful mountain. And Wawona's a beautiful place to be at. Now, a couple of years ago, there was a fire that was out there which destroyed some areas of that. But Dad, when he was young, he was out there, and early in the morning, Dad always got up early. He went out to see eagles. He caught his eye because he was there about maybe 6 to 8 weeks, 2 months. And in the spring, when they were first setting up over there, he noticed something in the sky. There were 2 bald eagles that were falling. Have you ever seen bald eagles that attach together? They grab the talons, the claws, the talons, and they fall like this. That means that there may be children coming soon. This romantic. Dad saw that. First thing, he didn't know anything about that, but he saw big things falling. But as they get closer to the ground, all of a sudden they separate, and out they go. And the female of the eagles, the bald eagles, the female's the bigger one than the male. So he didn't know which one was which. He thought the guy was the bigger one. No, it's opposite. The wingspan on her was something around 7 feet. 7 feet. Who here is 6 feet tall? If you're 6 feet tall, give it another foot and you got 7 foot wingspan of that eagle. That's huge. I mean, think about getting that weight. It's like a 747, getting it into the sky. But yet, these eagles with such grace, they'll jump and you'll see this, and they'll just do this above the nest, especially since eagles love high areas, very high areas. They like wood that is strong wood, whether it be like an evergreen or an oak. They will nest in those, and you'll find those off the sides of the mountain, that stone, the granite. Well, he noticed with his binoculars the next day that there was a nest, big old nest, but it's in the distance, but he saw. And he noticed something very interesting happening over the next week and a half to 2 weeks. He started to notice that she, the bigger one, was sitting in the nest doing a lot of different things, all kinds of stuff. And then there was the other eagle that kind of sat there, the guy sitting there, wondering if the Audubon Society or if National Geographic is going to be taking his picture. I'm here. My feathers are nice. The beak is getting the hook on it, so I'm looking cool. Have you seen those bald eagles? They have a personality on them. Even more so because we, human beings, sometimes put our personality onto animals that we know. But boy, they got personality. And eagles, a bald eagle can live up to 80 years. Do you know that? There's a choice at about age 40 that they have to make. They have to reorganize their beak and their talons and everything. And if they do that, they will live another 35 years. And they have to change they have to break the beak off and regrow it. And I didn't know that till just a few days ago. I was like, wow. Eagles can live a long time. But the guy's sitting there, and then all of a sudden, there's a lot of movement the next day that Dad saw early in the morning. And it's good to come in early. As the sun, before it rises, you can see stuff with these animals. Whereas later in the day, it's not as much to look at. All of a sudden, there's a lot of movement up in that nest. A lot of movement. And it seems like the eaglet that's inside, or the eagle that's inside the nest, gives a command. And the guy who's been sitting there just kind of like hanging out, all of a sudden looks, and boom, he's gone. Off he goes, disappears. About an hour later, comes back with a big old fish in his talons. Hadn't eaten any of it, just got him. See, eagles love to be near water. You know what bald eagles really love? They love salmon, especially the Northwest salmon. We might have a few eagles in the congregation here. But they come, and if you've ever seen it, it's amazing because their eyes, they can see massive. In fact, I'm going to read something here from the book of Job. If you've got your Bible, you got your Bible here? Interesting thing about Job. Cynthia mentioned Job because Job went through a lot of madness in his life. Well, in Job 39, it's chapter 39, starting with verse 26. It says in Job, middle of your Bible, a little earlier than the middle, it says, "Does the hawk take flight by your wisdom and spread its wings toward the south? Does the eagle soar at your command and build its nest on high?" God is talking to Job, and Job was saying, my life sucks. And when you have a disease that makes your skin with burns, that is bad. You have a reason to be upset. And if you lose your family, it's even worse. And in the case of Job, his wife even left him in the midst of it. So he's complaining to God, and then God says some things. Do you know how things are going to go? Have you ever felt like that in life? Do you really know how things are going to go? Well, the truth is we don't know. Are you the one that gave wisdom to the hawk or the ability to see at a distance the eagle? I'm going to read here because we'll get to that, how the eagle sees the fish. Does the eagle soar at your command or build its nest on high? It dwells on a cliff and stays there at night. A rocky crag is its stronghold. From there it looks for food. Its eyes detect from afar. I wish I had eyes like that. Sometimes I have a hard time reading my Bible here in the lighting. The eagle can see it way down through the water. They'll choose the location where the sun is, and they'll go and they can see those fish moving, and they can tell how close the fish is to the surface. And bang, in comes the fresh salmon. Gonna have some sushi today. He comes in and he drops it off for Mom, and Mom said, as if to say, that took a while. In it goes, and all of a sudden she starts to tear at it, and there's movement. Dad starts saying, I wonder if the eggs have hatched already, but that answer starts to come as he starts to see little, with his binoculars at a distance, he starts to see this little movement there. That's not the mom. The beaks coming up. Now, an eagle, when they first are born and when they're young, their beaks are straight like this. But then when they get older, it starts to hook at the end. And that's what I talked about. At age 40, they have to remove that hook and build a new one on their face. You remove it, and just like your nails, it starts to grow again. And so Mom is busy in there, and she starts sometimes getting upset. Have you ever seen moms that get upset? You know what the eagle does? The wing comes up like this. Like this. Somebody's going to see me online and say, what's the problem with Pastor John? But that's exactly a wing like this, and go like this. And then it comes in, out, and then all of a sudden they straighten up. Okay, good. Now you're happy. And she looks over at Dad again and says, food. And pew, off he goes again. Whoa, off he goes. He is now going to be busy shopping for a while. Every single, because when children are growing, they get hungry very quickly. You know about that, right? You're out there looking for the formula, looking for the food that, of course, you know, it's hard at a restaurant because you don't have everything they can eat, right? Too much spice, maybe maybe they like spice, I don't know. JD, my eldest son, likes spice even young. James, not so much, but you're getting it. And, but the thing is you have to figure out what works. 3 babies were in that nest. And there was the littlest one. When I say little, I'm talking this size. Because those things get big real fast. And by the way, the feathers don't help. The feathers make it kind of look even more. Have you seen baby birds? How their feathers are going all directions? Beautiful feathers, but they don't really work. Not yet. Not yet. Sometimes we feel like that in our lives. We've got feathers. You got an ability. But you're not sure how to use it, you know? We're all like that. And it's okay to feel insecure. Because feeling insecure sometimes is the first step to change. Because life is not just about being who you are. Life is about learning who you are, discovering how best to use who you are, where you are. You go. Absolutely. I looked at myself when I was a teenager, and I hated what I saw in the mirror. Don't raise your hand, but have you felt that? Actually, I still look at myself in the mirror. I'm not so sure. Fabio does a good job at haircuts, so he makes this look better than it does normally. But I'm telling you, we all have our issues, whatever they are. Maybe they're looks, maybe they're moral, maybe they're different things, and we see it and we go, how do I make it better? And so we sometimes fake it. But the mom eagle is the way to get out of that. Because those 3 children loved that nest. Who doesn't want to be in a nest where you get fed anytime you want? It's like, in the hospital, you hit the little morphine thing. I feel pain. Oh, wait, I'll hit the button. I need lunch. Now, you may not like hospital food, and sometimes I think the reason why it tastes that way is to get you out of there. Never mind. But, it's nice to be a kid because, well, not always, but if you have mom and dad doing something for you, it's nice. It's service on demand. Then you start realizing, maybe I need to make something. Some of you are very good at that. Others of you are not so good at that. I myself have never been really good at that. When I make something, it's good for me, but then Anna's like, never mind. Let me make something that's good. And by the way, she knows how to make it. Our sons have very attuned taste buds because mom is good at that. But as these children are there, a month goes by and they start getting bigger and bigger, and soon mom starts getting annoyed, and dad sits there. He's constantly going, and one day he just stops. And mom looks at him, and he looks back. I'm sick of it already. It's time. And mom looks at the kids, and then she starts doing this again with her wings again. Now, remember, this is over time. Dad in the mornings would see this, and then he would go and he'd do his job. He'd come back, but there was one day where Dad, the whole camp didn't know where he was. He was in charge of the boys' direction, and he disappeared, and they said, what happened to him? Did the Sasquatch up in the mountain grab him? What? But that day was the day when Dad noticed something serious, and he didn't want to leave. For in this morning when he got there, Mom started doing more of this, and she actually jumped up above the nest and did this, and the air is flowing, and she starts to float. It's kind of cool. And they move the wings. It's kind of like, you've been in the plane. Have you ever looked out the window and watched the flaps? How it goes down like this? And you'd think, going down in the back would make you go down. No, it actually raises you up. The tail goes down like this, and all of a sudden there's suction moving upward. It's amazing how science works. And she's going like this. And the kids start looking, and one of them looks excited, and the other two kind of like look the other way. Have you had an animal like that? Our cats do that. Okay, it's time for you to go to the litter box. And they go, no, I don't want to go there. I want to go right in your shoe. No, you go into the litter box. That's how it is. Maybe the dog is like that too, or whatever. And so you teach, and they kind of look the other way, right? And then you start to do what Mama Eagle did. Dad is sitting there still in his pose, looking very magnificent, doing absolutely nothing, as Mom starts to go insane. You know what she does? She starts to tear at the nest. That nest was beautiful. She had pulled the soft hairs of her underbelly out and put them in the nest so that those eggs would be safe, so they would be warm and they could gestate. And as those eggs broke, those babies enjoyed the softness and warmness of the pillows below them. But now she takes her talons, and we're talking August, early August, starts doing this. Late July, early August, starts to pull, and all of a sudden feathers start flying everywhere. And that's when the kids start saying, Mom's going insane. Dad, help us. And Dad goes like this. He looks over and he starts to pull. She starts to pull all of that beautiful, soft, Serta, memory foam beds out. And there's little pricklies underneath of the nest. And the kids start to say, I don't like to sit on that. So they move up to the edge of the nest and climb up onto the nest on the side. And this is the first time that Dad starts to really see their shape fully with their feet, their talons that are down there. And their wings are kind of like this. And then Mom starts to give them instructions. She starts doing this with her wings. And one of them, Dad likes to call him Junior, doesn't want to move his wings at all. Doesn't want to move his wings at all. The other ones are doing this. Maybe the sister, brother, the other brothers, they're kind of doing it. But Mom focuses on Junior, who's not moving his wings at all. And you know what she does? She takes her wing and goes like this. Pop! And that's when Dad goes, he's watching, and it starts to drop. This little eaglet starts to drop and spin and fall, and he's moving around like this, and he's dropping and it's a long ways up because that mountain is high. It's a sheer cliff, as it says in the book of Job. They have their nests in the cliffs. It's straight down, and there was a pine tree that had found its way out, and they had that nest up at the top of it. He's dropping and dropping, and then Mom waits. And all of a sudden, she then dives straight down. And I don't know if you've ever seen an eagle dive, but they don't have the wings out. They literally do this. It's like someone jumping out of an aircraft that's going to be deploying their parachute. You know how you do this to speed up and you slow down like this? Speed up. Literally, the wings go down, and that Junior is flopping and flipping, and she's just straight down, and then she takes a turn, boom, right on her back. And up she goes. I can imagine Junior in the heart rate. He's screaming his lungs out. I would be screaming my lungs out. Has Mom gone insane? I mean, think about it. But then again, think about it. Why is she doing this? Why do you think she's doing this? Is she nuts? Or is there something that she wants to do? Is there something bigger than herself that she's thinking about? Now, as she batted the other one off, the other two brothers and sisters are sitting there, and they go like this. They go like this. Both of their beaks go like this. They watch, and they look back at each other. Can I get back in the nest? No, it doesn't feel good. They're kind of like this. That feeling, you move back. Mom comes back with Junior, drops him off right on the edge. And just as Junior says, "Thank you so much, Mom. I thought you'd gone back." There he goes again. Drops again. Flopping, turning, twisting, flopping, down and down. He goes, and Mom waits a little longer. And then down she goes as Dad turns toward the nest, as if to say to the kids, "You're next." The kids. Mom goes down and again catches Junior, boom, on her back, but this time a little lower. Up she goes, back up to the edge of the nest, drops off Junior, and again, pop, off he goes. But this is the interesting thing. The third time, Dad noticed, as he was late for everything, he heard the rings and the bells and whatever, but he says, "I'm not leaving. I want to see this." This time, as Junior starts to move his wings and flap and flip and flop, he notices that now something's happening. It's just not like a rock with a bunch of feathers. It starts to move a little bit. Soon the wings start to feel where the air is, and that's what that muscle's there for. It turns the wing. He starts to slow down, like this, slow down, dropping that is, and Mom drops, but she's now not going to touch him yet. She starts to fly around as he's starting to try to maneuver it and try to move it this way and that way, and I don't want to fly. All of us, by the way, are like this. When we are being taught something, we don't want to do it in the beginnings, right? Could I just be like those chickens out there? I'll just peck seed and I'll be good, right? Because chickens, they kind of walk around. The only problem is Colonel Sanders likes chicken too much. And so maybe it's better not to be a chicken. Especially if you have the wingspan of an eagle. How many of us have pecked around enough in our lives because of our comfortable place? Sometimes becoming a better person means you got to move outside that comfort level. You have to change. It's not easy to change. It's not fun. It's painful. It means you have to deal with what you're used to and change it. It's easier when you're younger. It's harder when you're older. Isn't that true? I remember once the story when I was a kid. I was in second grade, and my teacher said to all of us, he told the story of the farmer that had an eagle that was among the chickens, and they would be pecking, and at some point, that eagle's too big and can't get enough food because his body is not meant to eat dirt, not meant to eat all the rocks and the seed and the cucarachas or whatever is on the ground. He's meant to eat fish. That's what he's made to eat. But the chicken can't get to the fish, but the eagle can. At a certain point, the eagle needs to learn to fly. Junior is now starting to flip and flop and drop and but Mom now is slow steadying it, and she's going around, and you can see on YouTube some videos where it shows you how it looks as he starts to circle around, and baby starts to try, and something happens. And now Junior starts to feel the wind. Oh, and sometimes drop, and then, ooh, this makes sense. The muscles are starting, the muscle memory starts. Because that's what he's made to do. That's what she's made to do, is to fly. God put the flaps in there. The question is whether or not we're going to use them. He starts to rise. And then he starts to come up to the nest and go around, and as if to say, see, look, you guys are sad. Right? Before they were saying, Mom's crazy. Now he's like, see, look, I'm going. Look at me. No hands. I'm flying. And now brother and sister kind of look at each other. And brother says, you're next. Right? Junior circles around. And he takes his last turn. And off he goes. Mom and Dad may never see that child again. But he will make his own life in the way God meant him to make it. And not shortly after that, the daughter will make her life, and the other son will make his life. Sometimes we think that God is here to just make us comfortable. But he's not. He wants us to sometimes become uncomfortable so that we can fly. I'd like you to turn to Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 41. Starting with verse 28. It says, no, Isaiah 40, verse 28. See, I need eagle eyes. Do you not know? Question mark. Have you not heard? The Lord, Yahweh, personal name of God right here, is the everlasting God, creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can understand. He gives strength to the weary. He increases the power of the weak. Even the youth grows tired and weary, and young men and women stumble and they fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew what? Their strength. And they will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Thus says the Lord. My friends, God has called you to fly. Question is whether or not you're willing. He's calling you every day. He wants you to be a part of his kingdom. Without his kingdom, you will not be able to fly in the same way that God has called you to fly, because he made you, he knew you, he designed you, and he calls you by name. God bless you all.